recently made some stunning claims in court documents about Florida's GOP's new voting laws. Take us into the meetings that you were at and what was said about suppression.
Well, I think, first of all, you have to realize that most reasonable Republicans and Americans as a whole, if they knew what went on behind the political curtain, they not only would be disgusted, they demand that it stop. As chairman of Florida's GOP and a member of the RNC Rules Committee, I sat in on many meetings where it was discussed of how to make sure that what happened in 2008, when President Obama brought out the college-age voters, the minority voters, never happened again. And, you know, the Republican Party believes that minority voters in general are not ever going to vote Republican. So discussions centered around how do we make sure that what happened in 2008 never happens again. And part of those discussions dealt with changing the election laws in Florida and how to ensure that the Republican Party doesn't have to deal with what it dealt with in 2008. And some of those changes dealt with reducing early voting,
right,
because people know or statistics show that early voters are not generally leaning Republican.
Well, let me stop you right there.
Sure.
We have the data. 54% of African Americans voted early in 2008. So you're right. The data is very clear that early voting was certainly used, and you had sold to the polls where the churches were using early voting. Go ahead. So,
you know, they talked about reducing early voting because that wasn't helping us win, the Republican Party win. They talked about making voter registration much more difficult for third-party organizations, organizations like the League of Women Voters, who have been doing this for many, many years. There were a lot of discussions of what could the Republican Party do, led by the political campaign strategist, to ensure that Republicans win in 2012. And it's very sad what's going on in the Republican Party. It's very sad that the Republican Party doesn't want to win votes by talking about what it stands for. It wants to ensure that some people can't get to the polls, can't register to vote. You know, the political strategists of the GOP can't control what voters do in the voting booth, but they can certainly try and control them ever getting to the voting booth. And that's what's happened in Florida.
So
it's part of the strategy. You know, the one thing, Al, that people don't realize is winning elections now has become a multi-million-dollar business. There are political consultants that get hundreds of thousands of dollars in bonuses if they win elections. And if they've got to change a few voter laws and make it more difficult for minority voters to get to the polls, well, then they're going to do it, because the Republican Party has given up on minority voters.